second episode of E-Wasted. So we're looking at yet another budget build here. This one's the 2011-3 X99 from AliExpress. Well, at least the motherboard is. But the other components, they're from various places. I mean, I started looking at cases on AliExpress, and maybe I didn't look hard enough, but from the ones I saw, like, they got some interesting cases, but, you know, being that we're continents apart, for the most part, the shipping's just, you know, pretty high, which is understandable. I mean, you know, it's one thing shipping a motherboard, which I'm surprised that they're able to do, like, free shipping on those, and pretty handy. And this one was like $40 here. Let's switch over to the browser view, and we will fire that sucker. It's the Mogul, yes, the Mogul X99 gaming motherboard, and it's advertised as the set with Intel Xeon E5-2697 version 4 and DDR4 8 gigs times 2, 2133 megahertz. But that's kind of deceptive, because the title doesn't change when the option you have selected changes. So I guess they're out of the RAM. So right now you can only get the motherboard plus CPU. But I'll just get the cheapest one. I mean, it says so in the title. It's got all the stuff, right? It gets here, and then I'm kind of disappointed. But, you know, I kind of figured it out playing around stuff too. It's like, hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do to make a buck, and that's what they're doing. They're making some shekels. Anyways, so we will go and we will explore this further. So where am I? What am I doing? I'm putting the memory in. I've already got the M.2 NVMe in there. It was a little guy, so I had to make my own little metal bracket to hold it down because it wouldn't fit there. It was, let me see, I think it's this little sucker over here. Yep, the Kiowaxa 256 gigabyte, which I did not pay the $26.90 or $26 for it. It was right around like between $13 and $15. But yeah, you know, still pretty decent for a new. It was like a new system pull, so it probably came out of a laptop or something. Never sold the laptop, just use it, or you know, just pull it with. You know, had whatever testing was done. Having an operating system installed, but still like new, you know, not bad for like $12, $15, something like that. Because, you know, you get, it's like, I think it's like right around like $20 or so to get a new name brand one, maybe a little over actually. But anyways, we will check out the CPU here we got going. In this build, we stuck in the Xeon E5-2697 version 3. At 2.6 gigahertz or 3.6 gigahertz turbo. And yeah, it's got a whopping 14 cores and 28 threads. Pretty impressive here. In the pass mark, it ranks up around a little over 18,000 in the multi-thread rating, and almost 2,000 in the single-thread rating, which is still, like I say in the previous video, you know, as far as pass mark goes, if you're close to the 2,000 mark, you're going to be pushing your video card, you know, pretty decent. Anything below that with like older CPUs, low clock, single core performance, not gonna, you know, really be using your graphics card to the best of its performance capabilities anyways. But yeah, we look at the, what does it score like around it? So I've got, you know, so here it is, the E5-2697 version 3, and we've got like Ryzen 5 3600 XT is kind of right in the same ballpark. I'll go a little lower. Got, yeah, that's in like some Ryzen 5 3600X, and this is all like the multi-thread stuff. Single thread, the Ryzen 5s are going to be, at least the 3600s are going to be definitely doing better because they've got some higher clock speeds. And they're unlocked, so they've got the overclocking. But just plugging it in, I mean, it's pretty good to go. So, we look back at my building process. You know, I got the motherboard done. And this was the original case that I had talked about in the in last video I made, the first episode of E-Wasted, where like, you know, I get to the end, it's a used Rosewool case, so I thought it would be good to go, tested and whatnot, but the power supply was a dud. And for like 35 bucks for the case, it's a nice deal if it's got a working power supply, but just 35 bucks for that case, it's like, meh, for like 5 bucks you could do quite a bit better there. Let me see, where was that? Right there, yeah, so there it is, you know, it's not a bad looking case. Looking at the browser window here, but yeah, see, it's not horrible, but you could definitely do better for like 40 bucks. So what it did instead was did the old DIYPC, the white with the blue LEDs, and this for like, you know, a little over 40 bucks is, you know, a pretty appealing case to most people, you know, looking for a lower end PC. It's not, you know, it's not the best case out there you can get, but hey, it's got the LEDs, and like I was saying before, that makes it go faster, right? You know, we got LEDs, heck. Anyways, so we're gonna skip this because, you know, I get all the way through, skipping ahead, blah, 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 blah. Get to the disappointment where I'm like, oh, I've almost got it done. I've almost got it done. Let's see. Am I going to see my disappointment? Okay, hook it all up. I've almost got it ready to go. Oh, yeah, flip the power thing on. And then let's press that power button. What's going on? It's not turning on. What the heck, man? That's when I figured out, okay, this thing's got to go back. So, yeah, we ended up going with the other case, which we'll switch to in the next video here. There's also, see, I had to stick these felt feet right on the bottom here. If you see, look at the bottom of the case. The feet were missing, too. They'd broken off during shipping somehow. But, yep, did not even turn on. None of the lights came on. I was mildly disappointed, but, you know, that's, you buy used, it's a risk you take. So, okay, on to the next video, which decided to blow up to giant full screen. Gotta shrink that sucker down. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. Look, that right there. Okay, yeah. That should work. But anyways, here we are creeping along here. Okay, so I'm unboxing this power supply. It's the RaidMax Vortex 600 watt, which was on sale for like $29.99, which is not like, you know, the best power supply out there, but it is 80 plus white rated, which is pretty much, you know, unheard of. Like, as far as like 80 plus power supplies, you're usually going to pay like 40 bucks at least, maybe a little bit more, and it depends. But we have 600 watts. It's, you know, not the best looking cables. They don't look that solid. They're not like sheaths and anything. And they did only have like a single 8-pin graphics connector, which I thought was pretty weak actually for 600 watts. 600 watts, you'd kind of be thinking you get like 2 graphics power plugs, but I don't know. And even some cheaper ones give you 2. But besides that, it's 80 plus, it's 600 watts, you know, hey, I'm not going to complain too much. It was Black Friday special. Whatever. You know, I got what I got. So there is the white case as I'm unboxing it. And, you know, to go with that white case, I thought, like I was talking about in the last video I made, there was this, you know, GTX 1060 3GB, you know, that was white. And it was, you know, in a neighboring town. I thought it'd be worth a drive, pick it up. It would fit the case. If they looked good together, you know, well, it's always good when colors coordinate, stuff matches. But as I talked about in the last video, the card was a total dud. Dude said it worked like before, and it did not work when I tried it. Not like it may have sputtered once and then not worked. I forget exactly how that, but in result, it was not a non-functional card. So I ended up doing this instead, getting a GTX 970 that I had laying around and using that in there. And that's, I think it was this one here that I'd actually ordered a while back off eBay for another build that I ended up, like, buying back from the customer. They, like, relisted it for, like, a super cheap price on the local Facebook. So okay, I built that system. I know I will buy that back, and so I took that out of that and then upgraded it to a 1070 and have it relisted. But yeah, so it's a GTX 970 in there to keep the price down. So yeah, there's where the 970 ranks in the pass mark. And like I think I mentioned before, I don't do a whole lot of other benchmarks. I just use Passmark because it does your CPU, it does your GPU, it'll do your hard drive, and then if you have like a temperature monitoring software going while it's running the benchmarks, then you can also check and see if your system's overheating. If you need to do anything about thermal stuff, you need to replace the thermal paste on your graphics card, or if you're doing a refurbished PC, it's usually good to replace the thermal paste on the CPU. But at the same time, if you run a benchmark and it's not really overheating, like maybe I'm not gonna, maybe I'm just not gonna take the time to do that. Maybe I'm busy. Who knows? Maybe you're busy. It can happen. People get busy. But anyway, so yeah, that's the GTX 970. Scoring in the mid-9s on the pass mark. And you look at other stuff that's close to it here. So here's the 1063 gigabyte. That's right in the same neighborhood. So there's 970, there's the 1063 gigabyte. What else is in this ballpark? RX 6500 XT. That's a newer low-end graphics card, right in that same performance level, area. 1650 Super. Right in the same ballpark there. R9 390X. I'm pretty sure the RX 580 is right in here somewhere too. It might even be a little bit lower here. Yeah, GTX Titan. But yeah, it's got pretty for low to medium 1080p gaming. It's still going to play most things. Maybe not everything, because there's a lot of new AAA titles will have certain requirements or certain new features that just fly right over the head of older graphics cards. Like, oh, it doesn't have that bell or that whistle, so it's not going to do that. But for 90% of the games, it'll do it at low to medium settings at 1080p just fine. And older games, it'll run like a champ, because that's what it was. It was a pro doing that in the day, even though the 970 is controversial because it only has the 3.5 gigahertz of the 3.5 gigabytes of the 4 gigabytes of RAM at the high speed, and then the other 512 megabytes are at this super low speed for memory. But I don't think it really phases it that much. I mean, especially when you got a GTX 1060 that has only 3 gigabytes of VRAM, and it does a lot of the games just fine without blinking. And the upside to the 1060 is it uses a lot less power. But the 970 doesn't really use that much compared to other cards also. So it's not a bad option, especially when you can get it for $40 like I did off eBay. It's a pretty good graphics solution for $40. $40-50 is about all I pay for it. I'd get up above that mark. I mean, it's about $80 or so. You can get anything from a GTX 1070 or 80 to 100. Maybe you can get a RTX 2060 Super or a 1660 Super, right in that price range. There's many options in the used market there. But anyway, so looks like I'm hooking this case up here. I did not do the wide angle on the video, so half this video I'm like, what am I doing here? I see some dead space. Let's see if I can skip ahead a little bit to where I'm actually doing something. There we go. Oh, I saw a hand. Look at that. There's my hand. I don't know what I was doing here. I had myself zoomed in so much. What the heck, man? Need to get my shit together next time. I'll try that. We'll see. I've already got the next video recorded, so hopefully I did it better. I'm pretty sure I did. Well, let's see here. Okay, now you can actually kind of see what I'm doing. Anyways, I'm routing cables. That's the fun part, people. That's definitely the fun part. But anyways, we'll go over the memory that I stuck in this bad boy. That's a it's a server processor. So I used the registered DDR4, which was like $12 for 16 gigabytes, like 2 8 gig DIMMs. Pretty decent here. Look at those bad boys right there. I mean, that was a steal. You can't always find it that cheap, you know, but you can find it close. I mean, if you find like a single 16 gig DIMM, sometimes you can get those for like, usually it's going to be the 2133, not the 2666. But you can get those when they pop up for like $10 a pop. It's just always difficult because then with the DDR3 like registered DIMMs, it was just like one flavor. If it's either ECC or it's registered or it's unbuffered, which means not registered or ECC. But with the DDR4, you really got to get the exact same model number, because as I found out, there's like multiple different flavors to the registered ones. You can get, I mean, yeah, you can get ones that say they're RO, or they have these little letters right at the end there. It's going to be RO or RD, or little differences. It's got to be pretty much the same one as far as I'm seeing. It's got to be the same model number for them all to work together. So got to pay attention to that. But anyways here, so going back over. So yeah, there is the motherboard again. You know, AliExpress, good stuff. I think I'm gonna, for a future build, I'm gonna try one of these bad boys, the dual 2011-3, because I got pretty decent big power supply lying around that need to put to use at some point in time. So that'll be a future video doing something like that. But anyway, so yeah, there's the power supply that ended up going into the white beast here that unfortunately did not get a white graphics card. Had to deal with a poor little machine. Had to suffer with black GTX 970 instead of the white colored version of it. I mean, but you can't always be color coded by your cases. I mean, you get what you get, I guess. And then there's the case that wasn't. And there's the case that was. And oh yes, I didn't go over this. This is the CPU cooler that I found. I'm pretty sure it maybe was a little cheaper, but it's probably the one I found out. I typed in like 2011-3 CPU cooler, and this popped up, even though it doesn't show it in the description. And it actually, like the heat sink or the fan fins were actually the black version. I don't know if it shows it in here as an option, but yeah, it doesn't show it as an option, but it ended up looking cool. Good enough. It had all the hardware to install it, so I was satisfied. So yeah, there I am doing stuff off camera again. Go back to my camera main and look. I don't know what I was thinking on this video. I was like, okay, well, I think I finally have it turned on or something. So now I was about to or no, that's right. This is just at the end here, where yeah, I got everything plugged in. And it's kind of like the end of the video with the case, with the power supply. Like, okay, everything's plugged in. I'm ready to turn this sucker on. It's just going to fire right up. Wrong. And that's when I found out that the graphic card sucked. And I needed to put the 970 in instead of the 1063 gigabyte white version. Yes. But, you know, lessons learned. That's why I'm moving back to buying my graphics cards and most of the stuff, unless you find like a big lot, like locally. I find that it's now usually kind of better just to get it off eBay, because then you got that 30-day return window. You know, if you get something off Facebook Marketplace and it's not as claimed to be, you're kind of SOL. No recourse there, but eBay has become very buyer-friendly, to where if you buy something, it doesn't work, you want to do something about it, just, you know, press the return button, ship it back, you get your money back. I've even found that, like, if you're ordering from Newegg, like Newegg has a store on eBay, and eBay's return policy is better than Newegg's. I think it's like if you order from the Newegg site and something doesn't work out, I almost think you might have to pay the return shipping, or you don't have as long of a window, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's better to, if you're going to order something off Newegg and you can get it through the eBay store, do that, because then you're covered by eBay's return policy instead of Newegg's, which is slightly subpar in comparison. But yeah, I think we're coming to the end of what, I guess we can go over overall scores here. Let me see. So yeah, there's the M.2 NVMe. Let's switch back to the browser view. And yeah, it scores like 18,000 on the pass mark, which is, you know, pretty speedy little solid state drive there. If you're going to get like the 2.5-inch SATA version, like usually your score is going to be anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 on pass mark on this benchmark anyways. And you look at it competing, you know, with the showing some Kingston that it's competing against, some Samsung 970 EVO, right in the same, you know, score range. So it's competitive for the price. For 12, 13 bucks. I mean, hey, that's a way to throw together a cheap, well-performing system there. But yeah, there is the picture. Yes, it's got the fans. It's got to be quicker. Just look at that thing. The case. I mean, white cases, blue LEDs. These sell good. But here is the CPU mark score. Or let's just show you the CPU mark. So when I ran the CPU mark, it wasn't quite up to it on like the overall score, but as far as the single thread is like 2059. Actually, I think that's actually the multi-thread score right there. It's like 17,417. So that's pretty close. It was like 18,6 something when we looked at the average pass mark scores. And then when I ran the 3D mark on the pass mark, or the 3D test, it was like scored around 10,000. So that exceeded the average that you see on the other pass mark thing for the GTX 970. And then the disk mark, yeah, it came in 18,406, which is a little bit under, but still close. You know, it's an average thing. It's not. They're not all going to be the same. You can even rerun it yourself, and I'm sure this is true with other benchmarks too. But it'll be, you know, slightly different. Just, you know, probably depending on what other background stuff you don't know is going on in Windows at the time. But anyways, I think that concludes this video. There's nothing much more to touch on. I think that's pretty much it. And we will be back for another kind of scattered review where I just kind of ramble and talk about old components or cheap, new, slightly new-ish, you know, component builds I put together. Just pretty much me just sitting here and rambling for a good 20 minutes. Be prepared for that if you tune in again. Anyways, thanks. Subscribe if you find anything valuable here, and we'll see you next time.